Most riders in their 40s and 50s don't realize how much the wrong bike affects them. Not on day one, but after hour two. The seat angle, the reach, the vibration. It adds up. These 7 motorcycles are worth looking at before you make a decision you'll regret on mile 80. Long rides should feel good, not like work. This list focuses on bikes that are manageable in traffic, comfortable on the highway, and forgiving enough that you actually want to ride more. Real options. Real prices. Let's get into it. Honda Shadow Spirit 750. The Shadow Spirit 750 has been around long enough that most experienced riders have an opinion on it, and it's usually a good one. Sit on this bike, and the first thing you notice is how low and relaxed the riding position feels. Feet forward, back upright, hands in natural angle. Nothing feels strained after an hour on the road. The 750 cubic centimeters V-twin is smooth. Not exciting in a sporty way, but honest and predictable, which matters more on a 2-hour ride than a 2-minute one. Power delivery is gradual. You're never caught off guard. It's also light enough to handle confidently in parking lots and slow traffic, which is something you appreciate more over time. The one honest limitation here: highway cruising above 70 miles per hour can feel a little buzzy after a while. Not unbearable, just something you'll notice over time. On the used market, you can usually find these starting around $3,500, depending on condition. Kawasaki Vulcan 900 Classic. Now, this one takes a different approach. Where the Shadow keeps things compact, the Vulcan 900 feels more planted. More motorcycle beneath you. That extra presence actually works in its favor on longer stretches of road. Stability improves, and wind fatigue tends to drop. The seat is one of the better stock seats in this category. Wide, well-padded, and designed with longer rides in mind. That's not an accident. Kawasaki built this one for people who actually ride distances. The 900 cubic centimeters engine pulls smoothly at highway speeds without demanding constant gear changes. It settles into a comfortable rhythm and holds it. And that's where it helps most. Those steady 60 to 70 miles per hour miles where you just want the bike to work with you, not against you. One thing worth mentioning: it's heavier than it looks. Maneuvering at low speeds takes a little adjustment, especially for shorter riders. On the used market, you can usually find these starting around $4,500, depending on condition. Yamaha V-Star 650 Classic. This is where most riders get it wrong. They overlook the 650 because the number sounds small. That's a mistake. The V-Star 650 is one of the most balanced bikes on this list. Not the most powerful, not the flashiest, but balance is exactly what makes a long ride enjoyable rather than exhausting. The seating position is relaxed without being extreme. You're not reaching forward, not leaning back at an odd angle. Just sitting naturally, which sounds simple, but makes a real difference after 90 minutes on the road. Weight is where this bike earns serious credit. It's light enough that confidence comes quickly at stops, in turns, pulling out of a driveway. Nothing feels like a wrestle. The engine is smooth at lower speeds and around town. Where it shows its limit is sustained highway, riding above 65 miles per hour. It'll do it, but it's working harder than the larger bikes on this list. Best suited for back roads and relaxed pacing. On the used market, you can usually find these starting around $2,800, depending on condition. Suzuki Boulevard C50. But here's where things shift slightly. The Boulevard C50 is a different kind of comfortable. This one feels built for the long haul in a way that's hard to explain until you've ridden it for a couple of hours. Start with the engine. 805 cubic centimeters, V-twin, and genuinely smooth at highway speeds. It doesn't fight you. Throttle response is predictable. Cruising feels effortless, and the power band is wide enough that you're not constantly managing gears on rolling terrain. The ergonomics suit taller riders particularly well. Reach is natural, legroom is generous, and the seat height is forgiving without feeling too low. Nothing complicated here. What makes this one stand out is how well it hides its weight at speed. It feels more planted than heavy. In town, it's a different story. At 650 plus pounds, slow maneuvers require attention and a bit of practice. One feature gap worth noting: the stock seat, while decent, starts to show its limits past the 2-hour mark. A seat upgrade goes a long way on this one. On the used market, you can usually find these starting around $4,200, depending on condition. Harley-Davidson Sportster 883 low. This one tends to suit riders who want the Harley experience without committing to a full-size touring bike. The 883 low is the most accessible Harley on the used market, and that accessibility is genuine, not just marketing. The seat height is one of the lowest in the Harley lineup. For riders who want both feet flat on the ground to stop, this matters more than it sounds. Around town, it feels confident and manageable. The V-twin has that familiar Harley character, torquey low in the rev range, with enough pull to feel satisfying without being aggressive. It rewards relaxed riding, which fits most riders in this category perfectly. The community around these bikes is also worth mentioning. Parts, accessories, and customization options are everywhere. Finding a comfortable aftermarket seat, better foot peg position, or upgraded suspension is straightforward and affordable. Here's the honest part though. Long highway stretches above 65 miles per hour can get tiring. Vibration builds up over time, and wind protection is essentially zero. This bike is at its best on shorter rides and scenic routes, not all-day interstate miles. On the used market, you can usually find these starting around $5,500, depending on condition. Triumph Bonneville T100. Now this next one is a bit different. Everything so far has been a cruiser. The Bonneville T100 is a classic roadster, and it earns its place on this list for reasons that become clear the moment you ride it. The riding position is upright and neutral, completely natural. No forward lean, no stretched reach, no tucked-in feet. You sit on this bike the way you'd sit in a comfortable chair, and that translates directly into less fatigue over longer distances. The 900 cubic centimeters parallel twin is refined in a way that surprises people. Smooth power, minimal vibration, and a throttle response that feels intuitive rather than sharp. It doesn't demand anything from you, which makes riding easier overall. Build quality is genuinely excellent. This is a motorcycle that feels well-made in the details, controls, finish fit. Something you'll notice over time rather than all at once. The one limitation is practical. It lacks wind protection. On exposed highways or in colder weather, that becomes a real consideration. A small fly screen helps, but it's not a touring bike by nature. On the used market, you can usually find these starting around $6,500, depending on condition. BMW F650 GS single. A practical option if you're looking for something that works equally well on the highway and on roads that aren't perfectly smooth. The F650 GS is the only adventure-style bike on this list, and for certain riders, it's the most useful one here. Not because it's the most comfortable in a traditional sense, but because of what it allows you to do. Gravel roads, uneven surfaces, rural routes. This bike handles them without drama. The seating position is upright and open. Visibility is excellent. You can see over traffic, read the road ahead clearly, and shift your weight naturally on longer rides. For riders who find the low cruiser position starts to ache after an hour, this upright stance is a genuine relief. The single-cylinder 650 cubic centimeters engine is light and efficient. Fuel economy is strong, which matters on longer trips away from major towns. It's not a powerhouse, but it's honest and dependable, and that's what counts over distance. Weight is where this bike genuinely earns respect. It's one of the lightest bikes on this list. Low-speed handling is easy, confidence comes quickly, and fatigue at the end of a long day is noticeably less. The honest downside, the single-cylinder engine does produce some vibration at sustained highway speeds. Not severe, but present. Handlebar grips and a small windscreen go a long way toward managing it. On the used market, you can usually find these starting around $3,800, depending on condition. At the end of the day, the best motorcycle for a long ride is the one that fits your body, matches your pace, and doesn't make you work harder than you need to. Comfort builds confidence, and confidence is what keeps you riding longer, not just on any single trip, but for years to come. Every bike on this list does something well. The Shadow and the V-Star keep things light and manageable. The Vulcan and the Boulevard settle in beautifully at highway speeds. The Sportster delivers character and accessibility. The Bonneville brings refinement. And the F650 GS opens up roads the others can't touch. So which one would you choose? Drop it in the comments. Riders in this community tend to have good instincts, and it's always worth hearing what's actually working for people out on the road. If this helped you think it through, the subscribe button's right there. No pressure, just more of the same when you want it.